Good evening. Welcome to our Page Unified School District Board meeting. We are starting at 5 o'clock here. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call, starting with Ed.
Franklin.
Sandra Kidman.
Rob Varner, Superintendent.
Desiree Fowler. Lynn is...
And Bob Candler and member at large.
All right, thanks for joining us, Bob. Bob is one of our board members, and he is joining us via telephone here. And then we also have Lynn, who is our executive secretary here. Sorry. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to start with a moment of silence. So we'll start now. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. That will be led by Christy Varner. If you could all stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, individually, with liberty and justice for all.
We ask you to remain standing, and I'm going to have Sandra Kidman introduce.
Okay, Mrs. Varnar suggested that we have some students sing the national anthem for us. And we have here 4 middle school students. I don't know all their names, so did you want to introduce them, Mrs. Varnar? I don't have a list.
All right, so we have Sarah Kidman and Kristen Franklin and Noah Taylor and Camille Taylor.
Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see life that brotherly light? What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, blue cross stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watch, where so gallantly streaming, and the rugged necklace, the birds singing out, gave through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. We appreciate your presence here at the school board meeting here. And we will be going on to our next item on the agenda, approval of agenda. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now moving along to special business, and we will be recognizing the student of the month for each school, and that will be presented by Rob Varner.
Good evening. Very much a privilege to announce our students of the month, and we're going to start with little Miss Stevens from Lakeview Primary. Come on up. Miss Brotherberry, would you like to do the Would you like to read the nomination?
Yes.
Oh, here's the mic if you...
I don't really need the mic. I think
Oh,
the voice.
okay.
Thank you. Actually,
You need it.
Yeah.
Okay, Kasaibi has the kindest heart and always thoughtful of others. When we talked about kindness in the classroom, she went home that day and wrote a note to everyone in the classroom and gave it to them the next day. She takes life lessons to heart. She goes over and beyond to be kind. Friendship is very important to her. She does well in her academics and is very artistic and loves to dance too. Is a good advocate for herself. She is very helpful when other students need help academically and socially. She always volunteers and is there to support them. She reminds me of how important it is to be kind to others, and she teaches me along the way. I am so lucky to have such an amazing student in the classroom.
And there's Mom and both daughters are coming up
Cannot do this without our great parents. How about Tara Lynn Begay from Desert View? She's not here, but Ms. Target's going to come up and say some kind words about Tara Lynn.
So, Carolyn Begay. Carolyn was nominated by me. She's an excellent student who truly shines as a bobcat. She adheres to the pride expectations and is a great example to her classmates. She's very kind. I've never seen her treat another student with disrespect. She volunteers to help around the classroom, works well collaboratively, and always strives to do her best. She is respectful to everyone around here and continues to improve academically.
Kylie Benali from Page Middle School. Are you in the house? Ms. Covington, would you like to say some kind words?
Kylie was actually nominated by Mr. Godby here, who's our dean, and Ms. Whitekiller, because she is an exceptional student. She treats fellow classmates and staff with respect. She follows directions, is quick to participate in her class assignments, and goes above and beyond every day. Her teachers enjoy Kylie's can-do attitude, along with her arriving on time to class, ready to begin each day. Congratulations, Kylie, and we'll make sure that she gets her rewards.
And Cardell, foot racer. Come on up. Eileen, would you like to say some kind words? All right.
This is my small freshman. All right. Carnell was nominated by me because he entered Page High School. He was so ready to learn. Carnell cares about his grades, and he's maintained A's and B's since the beginning of the school year. Carnell has good attendance, and he's never been tardy to my class. Coming in as a freshman can oftentimes be a difficult transition, but Carnell has worked hard to make this transition very smooth. Carnell always participates in class discussions, and he's willing to help other students that may be struggling. He walks into the classroom with a nice smile, and he goes out of his way to greet me. He's like a ray of sunshine walking into the room.
I think you're next. From Manson Mesa, Ms. Prather will say some nice things about Devin.
Okay, Devin was nominated by Mr. Shockley, and this was echoed by all the rest of the staff at Manson Mesa. Okay, the staff of Manson Mesa are pleased to nominate Devin Ogishi as the March Student of the Month. He started the school year strong as one of the first students chosen as Student of the Week, and he has continued through the year with hard work and determination. He continues to chop away at the classes he finds most difficult. He accepts the challenge by coming to school every day. He has one of the best attendance rates, starting work before the bell rings and taking detailed notes in each class. He deserves to be recognized for this hard work. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Now moving along to recognition of Pride employees, and that will be done by Sandra Kidman.
Okay, now we are. Good evening. This is one of my favorite parts of the regular board meetings is to honor our students and our employees because we have so many good employees and students, and I think we don't, it's so easy to focus on the negative, all the things that go wrong, and it's so nice to be able to focus on the good things. I have Certified Employee of the Month for March 2018, Jeremy Plyler. Said this a few times in this meeting, but if anybody gives you any grief this month, you point to that, okay? All right, congratulations. Let me shower a little praise on you. I would frame it and carry it with me for a month at least, so. Oh, well, no. For the rest of the school year, because the exciting thing is everybody that's received Employee of the Month then gets entered in for Employee of the Year. So, and there's some really cool prizes there as well. Anyway, let me shower some praise on you. Jeremy's a hardworking teacher, has taken on many extra responsibilities. He's a 5th grade team leader, helping his team focus on teaching the standards with high expectations for outcomes. Jeremy is one of Desert View's technology experts. He helps teachers having problems with equipment and technology issues. He has also taken on STEAM courses through NVU and uses these strategies with his students in addition to helping teachers in teaching STEAM in a project-based learning team. Beyond his normal duties, Jeremy has also taken on the school garden project. He has had students help design the garden plots. They've received permission, and with a team of students and teachers, they have now broken ground and are developing the soil. He's a valuable teacher, and we're so glad to have him. Congratulations. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Oh, there you are. And then we have Virgie Whitehorse. How long have you been with the district, Virgie?
Well, at the high school, I've been over like 20-something years. And Desert View, I was an 8 back in the early days, too, so.
So, yeah, it's about time you get some praise showered on you, right? All right. Virgie is an outstanding liaison in the Student Service Office. She has worked with the students and families for a long time, but still has complete enthusiasm for her position. She interacts with the families in a positive manner and displays empathy when students need it the most. Virgie is a favorite staff member in the district and always has a smile on her face. Virgie endlessly completes home visits and keeps in contact with families that are difficult to get in touch with. Virgie monitors the students that struggle with attendance and always has their best interest at heart. If there's a question about who to communicate with for student needs, Virgie usually has the answer. Virgie is amazing. So congratulations and thank you. Are we taking a picture?
Real quick, Ms. Tarkett is going to come up and recognize Carolyn, Ms. Kidman. Carolyn just came. We want to recognize Carolyn. She just arrived.
Hi. So I nominated Carolyn because she is an exceptional student who truly shines as a Bobcat. She adheres to the Pride expectations and is a great example to her classmates. She's very kind, very kind. I've never seen her treat another student with disrespect. She volunteers to help around the classroom, works well collaboratively, and always tries to do her best. She's respectful to everyone around her and continues to improve academically. So, good job.
Thank you.
Right, we would like to ask all of our Pride students of the month to come to the back of the room and for their pictures to be taken for our newsletter, district newsletter, right? And our employees as well. Okay, you're welcome to stay if you'd like and join us for the rest of our meeting. But we are going to go ahead and move along to recognition and approval of donation to the district, item C. Okay. So donations that were made in the amount of $2,000 was made by NGS Classic, Holiday Classic by Lower Antelope Canyon Tours. Second donation was made in the amount of $699.98 was made to the Page Unified School District baseball softball team. Purchase of a baseball and softball bat by Lower Antelope Canyon Tours. Donation number 3 in the amount of $100 towards hotel rooms for Upward Bound college visit by Benjamin Wagner. Oh, I'm missing. And donation number 4 of computer supplies from AZ Shreds to the Page Unified School District CTE computer class.
I make a motion that we approve the mentioned donations.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And on...
Bob, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. All right. Now we have a presentation from Kevin Dickerson, bringing audit findings.
You know it.
So ultimately, what I wanted to do is...
Kevin, I don't think that's on.
Now it is.
Sorry. Wanted to make sure there was transparency on understanding exactly what the audit is going to cover. Really look at what the day-to-day issues are that have been discovered from the audit, kind of the biggest picture, and then what we're looking at to resolve. What am I doing wrong? There it is. So there are 3 parts to an audit. There's the USFR compliance questionnaire, that's Uniform Standard Financial Records. That's exactly how we have to code things. So whenever we see those long chains, and you've heard me talk about the fund number first and then regular or special education, all those are part of the USFR. And then the compliance and really the day-to-day is what's happening there. The single audit is performed on any school district nationwide that receives $750,000 in federal funds or more. We far exceed that with just our impact data alone, coming in right under $7 million. And then there's the CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. It's really taking the single audit and the compliance questionnaire and wrapping it up to one little package that goes on to the Auditor General. Today, we're really going to focus on the single audit, which are what we call the audit findings. We'll talk about those at the very last, but more importantly, focus on those day-to-day operations through the compliance questionnaires. I tried to set this up in 2 different categories, one of where we are compliant and one where we need continuous improvement. We're pretty good when it comes to the compliance on the budgeting. Everything gets turned in on time. Public hearings are done on time. No budgets are overspent. And the revised budgets are submitted on time. The continuous improvement was, before I got here, budgets were not posted on our website, and a link was not taken from the ADE back to our website so anyone could find the transparency of our budget. That has been taken care of in the website, and it is under the business office department. When it comes to accounting, again, we see a lot of compliance, from cash registers to journal entries approved by a second person, all the appropriate backup for journal entries and such. Continuous improvement is not all bank accounts were reconciled in a timely manner. When I got here, we knew that was an issue that existed on the previous year's audit finding, so that applies through January. I got here in the month of January. After January, all those have been cleaned up. We knew that was going to be an audit finding here, and that will now disappear going forward. All supplies, we're good to go. Property control, we have our capital assets list. All of those things are taken care of. But when we started looking for capital assets, as this is part of the required audit that happens, they want to actually see where the physical asset sits. We did not pass this test at all. This is the second most common place where school districts do not pass or create audit findings. So we're not alone in this. But a prime example, Ann knows very well, we have a piano missing. Now, I tried to make a joke of this with the auditors, that a 1979 piano is gone. That's not exactly something you can just walk out during the day, but we literally can't find it. So what that normally means is it was disposed of, but we didn't follow through on the tail end in getting the actual tag removed. And so we're working to clean that up, and we're going to talk about those things moving forward. We also saw, so items weren't found, and it was the same on stewardship listing. Again, the difference is a capital asset is an item that starts out with a value of $5,000 or more, and a stewardship listing is anything between $1,000 and $5,000. So for the expenditures, we're completely compliant, meaning that we follow all the rules and stayed within budget. For credit cards, for all those things people hate to do with credit cards and all the backup, we're completely compliant. Procurement, we're completely compliant. Classroom site fund, again, we're completely compliant. This one is very tricky because it is the first one we've talked about in this set that is restricted funds. Again, 011, or that first bucket of fund, is 20% that goes to a teacher pay raise for saying thank you for being a teacher. The second bucket, being 012, is performance pay. That's what the board approves every year, and our teachers see based on evaluations and their own personal goals that bump in pay at the end. And then the third bucket, 013, is what I call the administration discretion, and how we spend that money all is appropriate within the confines of those funds. Payroll is completely compliant. Travel is completely compliant. Financial reporting is almost completely compliant, and this is absolutely my fault. So what happened with this is we actually hold 3 ledgers. We have the general ledger, which is like what Lynn is in, what I'm in, what all of the office staff is in. The 2 sub-ledgers that exist are student activities and tax credits and auxiliary accounts. We manage those as separate accounts. But at the end of the year, because I've never seen it done this way, a journal entry has to be done to move all of those expenses into the big ledger. I didn't do that. So I've learned my lesson. That will be corrected and fixed for next year. All the financials are fine. It's just I didn't do that one journal entry because I'd never seen it done that way. So lesson learned. Technology and our cooperative service agreements, all IGAs were completely executed, and technology meets all of its required compliance issues. First of all, before we even get into this one is a little different. We're going to see quite a few areas we need improvement on. This is also the #1 issue for all school districts is student attendance. The reason that falls under finance is because everything that happens there is what creates the money that we have in our bank accounts. So we do have quite a few things compliant. This really revolves around how many hours a student is in a class, how many hours it takes for the year, those kind of things. Student attendance. So I'm going to read these to you because they were written straight out of the compliance questionnaire. But there were 10 students that were looked at for attendance based on half days. All 10 were not recorded correctly. 10 elementary and middle schools saying attendance for quarter days. It doesn't mean the school was in session a quarter day or a half day. It means the student attended for a quarter day or a half day. All of those 10 were also not recorded correctly. At the high school, it was the 5 students regardless, but if they were late for first hour or came second hour or whatever, none of those 5 that were selected were recorded correctly. Based on the 4 students that were recorded or pulled to look at for JTED program, they were also not recorded correctly. I think, Sandra, you have a question.
I'm confused. How is that even possible when the teachers have to, you know, with power schools? How is that even possible?
It's not being entered correctly.
If that's just like an education, something we can do, because I would assume with the program and everything else, it's something they should have been trained them previously.
So we constantly train it. So
I'm so confused because how can it, when they say it wasn't entered incorrect, it was entered incorrectly, like what happened? How is it entered incorrectly?
So a prime example, one could be is, say your daughter. Say you took her out at lunch, and you were going to take her out for the rest of the day. That did not make it to the attendance records. Maybe we claimed her at only a quarter day, or we forgot to mark her at a full day. Now, how are they going to...
But when, as soon as she doesn't show up for class, she gets marked as absent. So where's the discrepancy?
Well, right there, that is the discrepancy.
She
may not have been marked absent for that class.
But how is that even possible? Because I mean, I get those power school things, and within 3 minutes of my kids not showing up for school, I get a message. Boom, they're not there.
The best I can tell you. On this.
Fails most of the time?
Well, remember, they pull a sample of 10 out of 2,500 kids.
Yeah, but if 10 out of 10 pulled randomly, that's a problem.
Well, that's one of the things.
1 out of 10.
That's one of the things we hate in accounting, because if there's ever an issue, that's going to be the random they pull. So just kind of a basic on how audits happen. The very first thing they do is ask the business office and the SAFE coordinator, Suzanne, we need a list of all your students. They randomly select up to 150 of those students. What they choose to audit that year is they follow the path of each one of those 150 students.
Okay.
So if one student was a basketball player, I guarantee basketball is going to be audited as a student activity. If they're part of the free and reduced program, they're going to be audited in that. And those kids are audited here. Now, it's not always the student's issue or the teacher's issue. Sometimes it's actually at the district level when we are setting the schedule. We know Friday is early release. Well, it's got to be half of the day Friday. So maybe we put it in as noon as a half day, when really a half day is, say, 10:45. So there's multiple different categories, and all these are in front of you. So those packets in front of you give you all the details concerning these things. And then the one that I've not had before, so it definitely tells me we need to work on training, is that we did not have residency completed on all the students. So they did not prove Arizona residency when they started and enrolled here in Page.
All of a small percentage of all of the 150 that couldn't prove.
When one student does not have all the documented records, that's going to end up on the compliance questionnaire. So I don't have it in my head, the actual number, but it's in there. Again, you can see when we talked about a lot of things that we need to improve on, we see a lot of things here that are still done correctly for student attendance. And by the way, so far that's the only one that has had 2 screens. So you've got to realize that 90% of the USFR compliance questionnaire revolves directly around student attendance. The 40th and 100th day review on student attendance at the ADE level did not match the SACE, meaning Power School. So again, that's working with Vail, who we've contracted to help with that, and make sure those open lines of communications exist between our school district, Vail, as well as ADE. I don't believe it'd be a shock to anybody, but transportation and food service passed with flying colors. Auxiliary and student activities, everything was compliant. You can give yourselves a round of applause. Actually, you should give Lynn a round of applause on this, because they will go to Lynn and ask to poll every minute, make sure they've been approved and all of those things as the governing body, and Lynn provides that to the auditors every year. So that's kind of the compliance questionnaire. That's the day-to-day operations. So when we talk about the audit findings, these are the things that a person in my position is always trying to improve upon. So I wanted to first show you what the audit findings were for last year, the 2015-16 school year. That oversight of financial reporting process, That will be and is an audit finding for every school district every year, and that will not change. Unless you physically hand the auditors your audit completed, you get that finding. The state of Arizona doesn't want us to do that because the auditors are checking. That's the whole point of the auditors. So everybody gets finding 1. Capital assets, we already talked about that we had some missing things. And so this is what was written in the 2015-16 audit. You'll see this again on the 2016-17 audit. Cash reconciliations, again, were not done in a timely manner, and that was an audit finding for the 2015-16 year. And the federal award findings, incorrectly applying for the impact aid funds. So we've spent quite a bit of time since I've been here trying to clean that up, and happily that has been removed from an audit finding. 2017, again, we'll see that every year, so always expect that 1 audit finding. For those capital assets, we got the exact same finding, but my recommendation is to use the professional group as we move forward. This is an outside agency. We already partner with the professional group to come in and make sure all those T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
I have a question for you. How was this handled previously by the district?
The audit findings?
The professional group?
The professional group is the one that does all of our requests for proposals and IFBs. They're kind of the experts in the industry in the state of Arizona, and their job is to keep people compliant. David Wood himself came from Mesa, as well as the owner of the professional group, Caroline Brackley. We have used Caroline Brackley for well over a decade in this district. So the relationship is there, the knowledge is there, and the expertise is there.
So on the capital access, once again, having to have this special team come in, so
it's 1 person.
1 person. What would be that cost to us?
About $3,000. So it's a very minimal expense to remove something off of this as well. And it would not hit the M&O budget at all. Audit adjustments to year end. There were some construction things that we had recorded incorrectly before I got here. So when I was doing a construction recap, I didn't even know they existed. So that won't happen in the future because those construction projects are done. Prime example was the front entry to the middle school that happened with that. So our next steps is I'm going to meet with the attendants and registrars because obviously that's where we have the most need for improvement, and review the importance of capital assets, meaning finding those items district-wide. We'll start that through leadership team. Again, David Wood, looking at hiring him to make sure that we're on track with that. That does not mean it has to be a forever. That means get us to a really good base so we can get that cleaned up. And with those new projects, and now that I'm here, I know what's there and I know how to code it so we can move forward with that. You have any questions?
So your plan is to clean that up, right?
Yes.
And where do you have any idea where the problem lies there? Like, is most of the problem that we dispose of items and it doesn't get entered into the system? Or what's your suspicion?
Only going through this once here, but taking my decade at doing this. A lot of times whenever we have capital assets, we actually have to list where they're located.
Mm-hmm.
So it would literally say a smart board is in the boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are times that happens at school levels, they don't really think the full process through because it's not part of their daily. But now I don't want it in the boardroom. Now maybe I want it in Rob's office. It's a finding the minute it isn't here. So we still may be able to find the item, but because it was in the wrong place, maybe it wasn't told to the business office, all kinds of things.
So it's an inventory issue, basically.
It can be an inventory issue. That's usually the number one. Number two is disposal, but I got to say, reviewing the processes here, it's a very, very good process for disposal. So I think there are still a few things that can jump through the cracks, but I would not put my head onto that. I would really say it's finding where everything is and making sure it's listed appropriately.
Because I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, we had something like this, and we went through the whole district, and then we had just pages of disposals that we couldn't find anymore,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And I was hoping back then that it would improve, but it looks like we're still struggling.
Well, I would say it definitely has improved.
Okay.
Because I've actually seen that list. And the other thing about this is going through the district, that's required by law every 3 years to go find every physical item.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole point of going through the 3-year process to find them. But capital assets are hard. Mm-hmm. If it's not a building or a bus, computers, they get moved all the time. and that's a stewardship listing, but still they get moved because IT felt the need was greater over here, but IT didn't think about it. Or Kathy, because Kathy's here. Kathy may choose to move a classroom, and this may no longer be a computer lab. Well, if that doesn't get reported here, it's going to become an audit finding. So a lot of it is really opening this up and having this kind of transparency and bringing it down to our leaders, so we at least put the nugget in the back of the mind that, oh, if I'm going to do this, let's make sure we announce it so everybody can capture their piece of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you. I'm off to the city of Page, so excuse me for leaving the board meeting early, but I've got to get an extension on our water meter project.
Thank you. We appreciate the report, Kevin. Moving along, and I don't think we have any public, what is it called, announcements and no blue cards. All right, so we'll go ahead and skip that and go to governing board reports, and we'll start with Ed.
Okay, one of the big things that I have, I believe it was last week, I believe, we had a state representative come down, a team of them, and they were pertaining to the STAR program. And I came over for a little bit just to watch a part of that presentation that day. And it was unbelievable about that program and the thing that how it works and everything, helping those special needs individuals out there. And I know that one day, the training that they provided to not only to us, but to several other schools, cost roughly $75,000. But it's unbelievable. And to know that we had a couple of people here at our schools, too, that met those qualifications was unbelievable and everything. But I said most schools lucky to have one out there. So just a great opportunity, great education.
All right. Well, I just wanted to mention parent-teacher conferences. I know they seem like an eternity ago, but at least to me. But I was really excited that we were able to sign up a lot of people for Power Schools, both at the middle school and high school, and I hope that we can keep doing that, pushing that, because a lot of parents seemed really excited to have that information in their hands, and hopefully can move it over to Desert View as well. I think the interest at the elementary schools might not be quite as high from parents, to monitor their students' grades, especially maybe starting in 5th grade, so that they're ready to go with Power Schools when they come to the middle school. I just felt like we had a really positive response. Parents were excited that they could see all their kids, and I don't know, it was just really good. And I enjoyed being over at the middle school and the high school, so it was really good.
Thank you. Sandra.
I'll ditto that also with the parent-teacher conference. I attended Lakeview, which is always outstanding. I guess it's because the level of children, and as young parents are coming in to see how well their children are doing, and plus the program they exhibited was even a plus, I must say. The other activity I also attended was the Grandparent Day over at Lakeview. I was invited by a young lady. Her grandma left a couple years ago, and she says, "Now you're my grandma." So she personally said, "You got to be there, Dee." So I was all day. I mean, I had to play. I actually had to play out of the playground. That was fun. And I attended the Unity activities over the weekend. Some of you that don't get an opportunity to go see what our young people are doing, it's just so fantastic. Just watching them, and then the support that's by the parents and grandparents, and also other community members around the Page area. Outstanding. The students that put that on. Of course, Ms. Martin, give our congratulations to the students and how well they performed and how well they did. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Bob, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I just echo everything you said about the parent teachers. I was in high school in Desert View, and it's really great responses from the parents and students that were there. But I want to mention a couple of things, really what I thought to be a real positive event. And our kids chose to honor 17 kids in Florida that were killed. And I think they took the opportunity to do that in the right way. And they also added something that I think really is at the heart of the problem. And they turned what was a walk out into a walk up. And I think I've got that right, and I think my perception is correct. I wasn't there. I talked to a few people and heard some of the things that were said and how they were presented. And I thought that was really demonstrating some really great leadership in terms of, get with some people that you don't normally know. Hold hands with someone that you don't normally associate with. Walk up to someone that is just not in your clique, because that many times can bring about a big change. So I want to just applaud that. And then the second thing was, I attended a lot of different things. One really positive meeting with Nancy Warner. I really appreciated that. Just very TLCs. I've been trying to sit in on TLCs. I'm really excited about that program and how it's moving. And then a real positive thing was we developed a relationship at Page Unified with a guy named Kevin Bracey. And I jumped in with Kevin and a leadership team. But I just heard nothing but really great reports. When he was with the leadership team, they were responsive. The message that Kevin brings is right in line with Pride, and he wraps that into his really compelling story and challenges the kids. I don't know how much longer we'll have a relationship with him, but every time he's come here, I think it's been a real positive experience. So thanks to Russ Google for introducing us, and Dr. Warner for continuing to bring him in. He's a real positive influence on our kids. That's all I got.
Thank you, Bob. I will go ahead and I have all sorts of notes here. So I attended the parent-teacher conference Monday through Thursday at each of the schools, and I am glad that I was able to sit with Sandra at Page High School. We started off at Page High School, and it's always good to hear Sandra's support for Power Schools. And also, the nice thing was we had the 2018-19 school calendar out, and parents were just kind of shocked, like, what? Already? We're not even ready. I mean, the school year hasn't ended, but we had it out, and I'm glad that we were able to have those calendars available at each of our school sites. And the feedback was amazing, especially for Desert View and Lakeview when it came to getting parents or kiddos signed up on Power School. So that was amazing. And I also had an opportunity to attend the career day at Lakeview. Oh my goodness, that was a ton of fun. I enjoyed that. Candace Horrocks did an amazing job, and we actually got Classic Air to bring in one of their choppers in, so that was exciting. The finale, I mean, just seeing different community members out and about and really presenting to the young children at their level. And also with Grandparents' Day, it was nice, to see grandparents as well and being there to support their young grandkids. And this past weekend, I had a ton of fun at the Unity Powwow, and I decided I'm going to go ahead and volunteer, and I enjoyed the powwow this year. It was amazing. I'm surprised and shocked to see how many people have actually come out to participate, and the vendors, oh my goodness, we had a good powwow, honestly. I mean, the vendors that came were amazing, and we had the head drum group that came from Canada. I mean, that was shocking, and it was amazing. They brought a lot of people to Page High School, and above all, I mean, the Unity group did a really good job. And I really like to highlight one of the things that I kind of overheard at the Grandparents' Day was the father and daughter dance that's coming up, and also the mother and son dance. And I thought, whoa, 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 when is this happening? So I was told, you need to get a newsletter. And I went ahead and I took a newsletter home, and I was just also amazed with the kind of things that that was on this newsletter that was also provided by Candace Horrocks. So, I mean, I really appreciate the mental health that she was really aiming for. And then also, the Tuesday so this is Tuesday of the Parent-Teacher Conference, I kind of overheard some things, so I thought I'm going to get myself involved. Page Middle School is having their Spirit Week, and Tuesday they were doing a professional dress-up day. So Stephanie Hansen and Irene Whitekiller mentioned that they were going to dress traditional, and I said, all right, I'm going to join the act and dress up. So I was walking around town, hanging out, people asking me, why are you dressed up traditional today? And I said, well, today's professional dress-up day at Page Middle School, and I'm going to attend. So I did, and I followed up with Stephanie. But it was amazing to hear about the walk-up and the outcomes of that, and she had a lot of positive feedback to share with me, and I was just amazed. And I honestly need to get to Desert View soon. I'm sorry I don't have anything to report about that, but I mean, all in all, it's great. I'm glad to hear and to see and visually be out there to see what our students and how we are performing as a school district, and I appreciate that. I'm able to be a part of this. Thank you. All right. I think we got everyone. Now we are going to move along and get the superintendent's report.
Well, I have a lot of good news too. First of all, a lot of good news is right sitting out there. Our administrative team is they never cease to amaze me. Their hard work and the dedication to students, the dedication to their school, to the community. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work, and I'm just happy to report they're all coming back. So very happy about that. So the director of alternative schools is the job is closing on this Friday, and we're going to interview on the 20th. Hopefully we'll have a candidate to the board for the May meeting. And thank you, Janice, for all you've done over there. Janice has done an amazing job, and you know, super appreciate it, and she's super excited about having a partner in crime over there. So looking forward to finding out who that is. Another celebration, our Page High School Winter Guard won state championship this year. And when I looked at the scores, Page is literally the smallest school that was competing against all the 6 big Valley, Tucson big schools. All the judges were the same, and so when I look at the scores, Page had the highest score of all the categories. So not only did they win their category, but they pretty much dominated the event. And Katrina Wunderlich and her team, amazing. There was a cute little girl named Kelsey that was part of the team that I get to see every night when I get home. So it was kind of a fun thing, and she got to rub it into her brother, say, hey, I was state champion before you were. So quite exciting. Our students have been deeply involved in testing, and you know, I've walked around several schools. Kudos. I am not aware of any issues so far that haven't been easily overcome, but there are some glitches, as there always are with technology and those kind of things. Last week, Dr. Mara and I were enjoying the -11 wind chill in Minnesota, and so I'm going to turn the rest of my time over to Terry to talk about recruiting, retention. You look shocked. Surprised. He should know exactly where we're at. Just a little update on how we're doing with bringing teachers in. It's pretty exciting.
Madam President, members of the governing board, colleagues, we have completed 12 out of the 14 recruiting trips. When we look at each of the schools, I know Lakeview has 1 left to fill possibly. Desert View we just completed today with 1. Mrs. Covington has a couple of small holes there, and that's only because the high school keeps taking those candidates. And then the high school, I just met with Ann today. She's got multiple applicants in her positions. We'll have the assistant principal coming to the board next board meeting for approval, and our goal of having an appropriately certified teacher in every classroom is coming to fruition. So we are well on pace to have if not all of the schools in place by May, June definitely. So we're well on our way.
So Terry, with all the gaps that we had, so that's great. So now the staff that we had, and I would assume that they're coming back also.
So I can get the exact number for you, but when we take out the individuals who were not appropriately certified, retirements, and then just individuals who we really can't control, we will have about 4 or 5 total that are leaving us. But you know, the amount of individuals that are leaving total would be under 15 if I was just to ballpark it, but that takes into account everybody. And that includes 4 retirements that we know of right now.
That's very good.
So I want to thank Terry for taking care of me when I had food poisoning up in Minnesota. So I made him taste down the Gatorade and the crackers while I was suffering. So thank you, Terry, for that, and a very good recruiting fair up in Minnesota. So that's the end of my report.
Awesome. Thank you. We appreciate your report. Moving along to governing board consent agenda. I am going to have Mr. Franklin go ahead and read the public content, right?
The public content?
Yep.
Okay.
Statement concerning consent agenda.
Okay. A copy of the consent agenda is available at the district administrative office. All items listed will be considered the unit by the governing board and will be approved with one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items unless a board member requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion was passed. All right. Item 7, calendar of events. Everyone, our board members each have a copy of the calendar of events. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Yes.
Just want to highlight real quick the Pop with the Cop that we're working with the HPD to get into the schools at lunchtime to really just build relationships with kids, handing out otter pops, and just for the purpose of that relationship building. So pretty excited about that.
Awesome. And I just want to address and make sure everybody knows that the Page High School graduation is happening on May 19th at 7 p.m.
Do we need a, sorry, question, do we need to, RSVP?
Yes.
By when? Do we know yet?
When do you need an RSVP by the board members of which ones will be attending? And you'll also note that you guys have an invitation for the Mesa High School graduation, and so they'll need an RSVP too. Dee has already let them know that she'll be in attendance, but anyone else, you just let me know so I can pass that on to them.
Okay, sounds good. And then the Manson Mesa High School graduation is taking place on May 23rd at 6 p.m. in the CAB. All right? Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and move along to additional agenda items. Item A, second reading and possible adoption of Policy Service Advisory 602 through 615. Mr. Varner, wait, we need a motion. I'm sorry. Right? Motion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt the policy revisions and the Policy Service Advisory 602 through 615. Wait a minute. Let me restate that. I make a motion that we adopt policy service advisories 602 through 615.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Warner?
So we've been looking at these for the last 2 months. Lynn and I reviewed them, and there's really nothing controversial. My recommendation that we adopt as they were submitted. I think the big one was the foster kids. They just kind of removed them from under McKinney-Vento to their own policy under SF. So my recommendation is to approve as they were submitted.
Any other questions? Okay. We vote right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion has passed unanimously. All right, moving along to item B, Lakeview Primary School Family Handbook for the 2018-2019 school year.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the Lakeview Primary Family Handbook contingent that the superintendent review policies KIR and KI and ensures that all the handbooks are in compliance with our visiting policies for parents.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Up for discussion. Kathy?
All right, so first, the changes, of course, were the dates to the 18-19 school year throughout our handbook. The second one was on page 17. That was the building entry notices and that parent visitation that I think Sandra just mentioned. And we will add that policy if you would like us to do that. The next one were the page 21, which is dates to remember for next year, which follows the current calendar for the school year 18-19. And most of those have been updated, but we will second check those before we send that off for to be copied for next year. And then, of course, our staff list updates will happen as new staff is hired. And again, that will be checked before it's sent off for publication.
Any other questions?
Well, I just really want to make sure that all our handbooks comply with those policies.
I'll need a little time to look at them. The April study session's only in 2 weeks, so can I bring that back to the May 22nd study session with a recommendation that we can review?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, then we can pass that on to our administrators to make sure the visitation policy is consistent with Greek schools.
Yeah, and can we do, is that in time for before they print? Okay.
They print over the summer.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed. Now moving along to item C, Desert View Intermediate Family Handbook for the 2018-2019 school year. Mr. Barter and Rich.
Okay, I've got to make a motion first, though.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we approve the, is it Desert View?
Desert
Yeah, we're
View,
still
yes.
on Desert View. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Okay. That we approve the Desert View Intermediate Family Handbook for 2018-2019, also contingent that the superintendent review policy KIRRKI and ensures that the handbook is compliant with our visitors' school policies before they go to print.
Okay, do we have a second? D. McCary, second. All right, discussion.
Good evening, board members. Changes, we've obviously updated the dates throughout. Page 14 is our behavior flow chart. We just revised that a bit through our PBIS team, so it's the same information, it's just set up a little differently. Same thing on 15 and 16, we expanded our list of definitions. We've always had this list around, but it's never been officially in the family handbook, so we've added that. And then on page 20, we added a little blurb about parking. Parking continues to be a problem with the businesses across the street from our facilities, so we just added the information that Angela Santana had provided for us, and we tweaked it a bit and put it in there. We added that. And that is it, except for the updated calendar, which will be entered on page 26 and in the Desert View staff, which is pretty well up to date except for one person that we hope to hire shortly. That's it.
Thank you, Rick. Any other questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you. Motion has passed, and now we are moving along to Page Middle School Student Handbook for the 2018-2019 school year. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the Page Middle School Student Handbook for the 2018-19 school year.
I would like to amend that motion to make it contingent upon that the superintendent review the policy KI, and ensures that the handbook is in compliance with visitation policies in the schools before they go to print. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Covington.
Good evening, Governing Board President.
I'm sorry, we need a second. Okay, that's second is by Dean. Yeah, you may have the floor.
Good evening, Governing Board President and Governing Board members. Our middle school handbook, most of the changes had to do with semantics. The years were changed. One more change that I overlooked on the front page is changing the year there, but elsewhere in the handbook, the year was changed, the times. Our direct number that's on the front, it was taking it to a 4300, which just looped into Neverland. So we made sure that we put the correct number that gets them directly to our attendance office. We also changed the start-end times, breakfast in the classroom, adding that as a time that occurs before our start-end time. On page 3, you can see the addition of our vision statement that we created this year. On pages 7 and 8, a lot there was highlighted. What we did was we cleaned it up. We realized that things were duplicated in both sections of the last handbook. So we cleaned it up and condensed and combined the verbiage. On page 9, adding specifications to the drop ad and the criteria for possible retention. For the personal electronic devices, bus safety, personal transportation devices, the language there, we actually met with the high school and changed some of the language so that we are collaborated on what we wanted to have in our handbook so the students have the same expectations 612. On page 11, one of those changes also includes in the handbook for the high school. One thing that we had that differed that we will be changing to align to the high school is the length for the skirts, because middle schoolers, some of the torsos are different sizes, and so in order to make sure that we are in compliance and actually aligned to the high school, we're changing that to be mid-thigh rather than fingertip. Other things here that are specific, we did, throughout the year, we noticed that we did not have it stated in our handbook, our policy about backpacks being in the lockers, so we added that on page 12. On page 13, required interventions. One of the things reason why we highlighted that is we omitted Saturday school because it is difficult to make it mandatory over the weekend. And we also wanted to emphasize, since we are really stressing the importance of students being there, that absences that are approved or that are verified could still hinder the students' progress academically, could hinder their grade if they don't complete those assignments. Other major changes, we had a little throughout. Some of them had to do with just correcting the language or spelling or word use errors. We also changed or made sure that we updated the website for the district, in addition to inserting page numbers in areas where we had missed it. So the major changes are, I've already spoken to, the other ones were just the minor.
Does anyone have any questions? No. All right. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You don't have that error statement yet, got you.
Okay, moving along to item E, Page High School Student Handbook for the 2018-19 school year.
I make a motion that we approve the Page High School Student Handbook for 2018 to 2019, contingent that the superintendent review policies KIR and KI and ensures that the handbook is in compliance with our visitor policies to schools before they go to print.
Second.
I second it.
All right.
Good evening. I have two additions that I made note of. One is to make sure we have explicit language on visitor policy. So I know it's mentioned briefly in here. I could not find it sitting at my seat, but I remember it on all the many times that I've reviewed this handbook over the last 2 years. And then I think it's a good idea what Rich mentioned about the event parking. This is for our families as well, so that'd be a good place to put that. My first change begins on page 6. We are having to change sign-out times because school ends at 3 o'clock. I don't think that one was highlighted on the version that I sent you. That was on page 6. Moving on, same thing for page 10. We had to obviously make some time changes for after-school detention because school gets out at 3 o'clock next year. On page 13, I highlighted the cafeteria meal programs because there may be a need to change that before these go to print. There are some things in the works with food service and Page High School that may require us to communicate something differently about meal plans. So I highlighted it because it could potentially change. Page 14, there was some clarity provided for the 4:30 activity route. We had some issues with students finding bus lists, adults not appropriately protecting the bus lists, and kids were forging things. So we wanted to make sure that we made it very clear how you get access to the 4:30 bus there. Page 15, we had to change times again for after-school services, and then we provided some clarity for parking and student drivers. One of the things that we've noticed, like all the schools, we require a $5 student activity fee. This allows us to access our tax credit funds and use that to send students on field trips, to help out in the classrooms. And we noticed that students were paying that $5 fee, and we were asking them to pay another $5 fee to get a parking sticker for their car. So we felt like it was more appropriate, since we're stewards of our community, to ask them to pay the student activity fee once, and when they're sophomores, juniors, seniors, with that they get their ID and a parking pass instead of having to pay multiple times. So that's the highlighted portion there. It before had mentioned another $5 fee for our families. On page 16, as Ms. Covington already mentioned, we're trying to align many of our basic guidelines so that it's similar with the middle school. So the two highlights, actually I think there's one on your version, about the midriffs. It wasn't in there, and we had many young people trying to say because it wasn't in there they could wear short shirts. So we're trying to make sure that we communicate it properly. At the bottom of 16, we are currently reviewing what exactly a student needs an ID card for. At this point, we haven't been able to go through all of the bullet points. For example, there's one that mentions receiving AIM scores, transcripts, class schedule, and to take certain tests. So one of our goals is to make sure whatever is in this handbook, we're actually practicing. So that's one that is kind of still on our plate to investigate. Page 17, we're trying to clear up the language about earbuds, headphones, personal speakers. Something we've noticed about our students is that we have students who like to isolate themselves, and we feel like allowing earbuds to be worn during the day is just another level of isolation. We're trying to promote collaboration within our staff and our students, and when we're in classrooms, we need to be available to other people, plug into learning. So this is going to be a big transition on our campus beginning of next year to get everybody on board to understand that this is often an isolating behavior for our teenagers, to just plug in and not need to be aware of what's going on, alert, engaged in the learning. And so we've decided that we care enough about it to make something happen. So that change about earbuds is that they're not allowed on campus. We've asked teachers to submit supply requests if their curriculum calls for audio headsets, so that we can provide that for them in their classroom, and they don't feel like they have to reach, the kids have to get their supplies out when they're not supposed to. Also on page 17, we just created clarity with the age of a Page High School alumni. I think it was something like could not be 21 years or older, and I guess the Dean of Students has had trouble communicating that way, so he's trying a different angle with the language there. That's just a language change. And then if you turn to page 26, we've tried over the last 2 years to make sure that our table of violations has ARSs attached to them. So one was missing, so we wanted to cite that. And then Mr. Rivers, the Athletics and Activities Director, on page 31 has added in number 12, a signed consent to treat form must be completed by the parent or legal guardian. This is a way to ensure that students who are traveling to other schools have on file that the school's personal trainer can treat them. So that wasn't in there prior, and that was actually initiated by the AIA. The AIA asked everyone to make sure that that was included. And I believe that's it. Any questions?
I only have one question, and it was on page 17, I think you mentioned. So I think it's 17.
Earbuds?
No. Prom. So homecoming is only for enrolled Page High School students and alumni not older than 20 years of age. And then prom is for 11th and 12th graders and one approved guest enrolled in the high school or a Page High School alumni, right?
Not older than 20 years old.
Yeah, not older than 20 years old. Okay. My question is...
This is for next year.
For next year,
yeah.
Yes, for next year. Is it... Just a question, is it possible to add the one approved guest to the homecoming or not?
I think the reason that we stick with PHS enrolled students or alumni is because it's homecoming. We can discuss it back at the high school and see what everybody's feeling. I'm not sure what the history of that is other than the fact that it's homecoming, and typically homecoming is for Page High School people, so we can look into it for you.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion, or wait, all in favor? Aye. Aye. move along to subject F, Page Education Association and Page Unified School District. Do we have a motion? No? Yes, a motion.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we accept the Page Education Association and Page Unified Schools District 2017-18 meet and conference agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Barner.
Well, first of all, I would like to give Ms. James or Dr. Maurer an opportunity to say how the process was. Any comments before I go through the list? Okay. So, there were 7 things that were agreed upon. One was the insurance would remain as the silver plan was remain as a benefit to all employees, and then the agreed upon 2% raises for all certified employees, and any additional funds that the governor would designate for teachers, and then the voluntary committee to get together to review performance pay plan and analyze professional development and the district-wide professional development plan. Also, the request to use percentages as raises as opposed to going back and forth between a flat rate and a percentage rate. So, and then of course to amend the language of the contract insurance dates. So make sure those are, everyone's aware of when those dates are going to, when the contracts are going to come out. Am I missing anything? Ms. James, am I missing anything? The resignation language? Okay, that was under number 7. To review those, correct? Yes. And that was meet and confer. I understood it was a good process. Both teams reported to me it was a very good process, and they appreciate, both sides appreciate the opportunity to talk about improving the conditions of work here at PUSD. Any questions?
All right. Do we have all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Yes. Thank you. All right. Moving along to future agenda items. And I know we all have a list with this. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the governing board. I'm here on behalf of Complement Chapter and 3 related chapters regarding the school bus routes on N20.
Excuse me, we can't have anybody address the board because it's not on the agenda item. We did approve.
It's letter K.
I know, but we already approved that.
Oh, it's been approved.
I was afraid to approach you guys because it says use the microphone to speak. I might be back in case Resource Development Committee Nomination Council requires other documentation for this bus route, but thank you for approving this concern.
All right. You're welcome. Moving back to
Future agenda items?
future agenda items, yes.
I have a few, if I may, or did you want to add something? No? Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're clear, we're adding
May 22nd.
the review of
Review
visitors
KI.
policies and handbooks on May 22nd. And then also, I would like to add to one of our study sessions a report on our tax credits. I want to see how many tax credits. I mean, we should have a pretty good idea because April 15th is what, next week?
I kind of gave them a heads up that we were looking.
Okay. So because all the tax credits for last year for 2017 for 2017 have to be in by April 15th. And so I would like to know how many did we get, you know, how much money is it, where did it go to? I know we have some reports where it goes, but it's kind of, I would just like to have an overview rather than it's a little bit over here and a little bit over there, you know. And then also in a future work study session, I would like to have a little bit more explanation on the PA items that were requested but not agreed upon, and what the thinking behind them are, so that we can just all understand them a little more deeply. That's all I have.
Can I put that on the May 22nd study session too?
Yeah. He's watching something.
Turn down the TV, channel
Does anyone want to add anything else to the future agenda? Where are we at?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to add the event ed review. I understand the team's here today and tomorrow, and I'd like to have an overview of their findings and recommendations at that time.
I don't know if they'll have that report by the 22nd, but if they do, we should, and should have, okay. 22nd it is.
All right, it looks like it is all on you now, Bob.
I move we adjourn.
I second that motion. And we are adjourning at 6:22. Thank you.